Nick, stand by. I want to bring in now Miri, Senior Fellow with the International Institute for Counterterrorism, and she retired from active duty from the Israel Defense Forces at the rank of colonel. Miri, thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate it. As we've done a couple of these hostage releases, you and I, we saw kisses, air kisses, waves, thumbs up from the three released Israeli hostages. They looked frail, but able to stand. Your impressions as you were watching along with this very emotional moment?
I'm at the stage, Kim, of looking at the terror of theatrics is just almost too much for me. I look at these different things and I think, what have they done to these people inside the places that they were held, that after over 500 days, I want to say a year and 4 months, just they were taken from a party, they were taken from their homes, these three men, and just, that I hope that what they're doing is because they're freed and not because of just the horrible terror tactics of Hamas. Look at how they stage it. And I want to remind everybody, Kim, that they're not showing Hamas the release of an additional Israeli hostage who has been held for 10 years. We don't talk about that. Why is he not being shown? Because he is an Arab citizen of Israel. So what is Hamas trying to say yet again? This is about the Jews. This is about all Israelis. They took somebody and have held him for 10 years, and that one they're not showing right now. They're as if doing that quietly, and I need to shout that out as well. We also saw earlier, before you showed it also, the release of another Israeli, Ethiopian Israeli, very Jewish, who was held also for 10 years. Why were they held there? Why don't we hear about that? These are all hostages, and so I'm grateful that they're home, but I'm just appalled yet again by the theatrics of Hamas.
Yeah. And just for our viewers, we're showing a split screen there of Nuseirat, Gaza, where we saw the release of those hostages. And then on the other side there, the celebratory scenes. That is Eliya Cohen's family, who we showed moments ago, breaking into tears and celebrating as they finally saw their loved one, Eliya, after some 500 days of captivity, emerge on the screen and waving to the cameras, and presumably through that to their loved ones who just can't wait to see them. Miri, we saw two other people released earlier. This seems to have gone according to plan, although it was late. There are always problems with these things, as you know. We are slowly going towards now the end of this phase. This was presumably the last release of live Israeli hostages. So let's pivot now to phase 2 and this crucial phase. Do you think we will actually get there?
There are over 24 Israeli who are still alive and hostages who were also taken on October 7th, Kim. I mean, in that sense, it isn't that phase 1 was ending what Hamas had done from the beginning. Hamas took 256 people from the beginning. They took both live and dead. And to be clear to all the viewers, in the stage 2, the only difference is the Hamas difference, that they define the ones that they're still holding, the live ones that they're still holding, as Israeli soldiers, so that they want the price to be even higher. We're talking again about those terror tactics. I do not see any scenario where Israel says we're not going to do anything. We need to get back not just the live ones, but also, when I say the dead ones, both those that were killed in captivity and are being held, but also bodies that Hamas took on October 7th, again, as collateral, as a bargaining chip. This is what we're dealing with. And at this stage, it's going to be much harsher. Hamas have already put out what they say are their conditions. They've done so throughout the last 500, and I've lost my sense of time, 515 days. How many days are we at this stage along the way? And when we talk about that, do we have a choice? Well, I always have a choice. Let's impact and make sure that Hamas give them back. Could there be other ways to pressure Hamas? There are continuously, both Arab states, the different ones who are negotiating along the way, both Egypt and Qatar. You want to hope that Hamas is not the one who is defining the rules of the game in any way. That is not good for anybody.
So that's the Hamas side of the equation, but there's the Israeli side as well, and there's certainly questions as to whether Prime Minister Netanyahu would accede to the stipulated terms, or at least what we expect to be the terms in terms of Israel withdrawing from Gaza as part of phase 2. Do you think that he will do that?
Yeah. So one of those things, when I think of the country that I live in and I love, and that right now, that love-hate relationship with our own government, I know, Kim, based here in the United States, it can seem also sometimes that when you have a government that doesn't represent who you are, I don't think this government represents me as Miri, but right now this is the government who is there. And I, as a citizen, hold them responsible. And this government is going to be held responsible for every single last hostage. In addition, they are also, in that sense, looking at their own base. They're looking at the own people who vote for them. At the end, inside Israel, the bulk of Israelis, 70%, need to have the hostages back. I don't think I have a lot in common with 30% of Israelis who say that the hostages are less important. I don't agree with them. And I want to hope that this government, that 30%, or certainly their base, will listen to all Israelis, that we all need them back. We're drafted into the military and mandatory service. This government needs to know that when it negotiates, it wants the soldiers to be drafted, that they want us to all support them, that we need to both defend ourselves against horrific Hamas. As I said, let's emphasize, Hamas is the one who did this. Hamas is the one who's playing a game. And I do hope that in the price that we are going to have to pay, it is one that I will pay to get back those hostages, despite what this government might think.
Well, we only have about 30 seconds left, but I did want to ask you this, because the other big player in this, of course, is the U.S. president. And what would be your message to President Trump, who could presumably exert much more pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to get a deal done?
I'd like that, and Kim, I want him to do so, but parallel, I want everybody to remember this isn't Israel, this is Hamas. So please, President Trump, find a way to also exert pressure on Hamas via Qatar, via Egypt, in other ways, not just pressuring Israel. We're the ones who at the end are both attacked, and we're the ones being held hostage.
All right. Listen, always appreciate your excellent analysis. Miri Eisen, thank you so much for being here with us as we are watching what is a heartwarming and also heartbreaking moment all at once as we see these Israeli hostages being released